Diabetes has become such a worldwide epidemic that some are turning to over-the-counter products as a way to help patients with a disease that has afflicted nearly 24 million in the U.S. alone. Welcome to a special focus on diabetes on ReachMD XM157, the channel for medical professionals. I'm Bruce Japsen, the healthcare reporter at the Chicago Tribune, and with me today is Dr. Gerald Bernstein, who's a vice president of medical affairs at Generex, a biotechnology company based in Toronto, working to develop new products to treat diabetes. Dr. Gerald Bernstein is a former president of the American Diabetes Association who still serves on many ADA committees and groups today. He is currently vice president of medical affairs at Generex, where he's been working to win U.S. approval of the company's flagship product, an oral insulin that's already approved in 2 countries around the world. Dr. Bernstein is a graduate of Dartmouth College and Tufts University Medical School and is board certified in endocrinology and metabolism. He is an associate clinical professor at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York and an attending physician at Beth Israel Medical Center, also in New York. He joins us today from his offices in New York. Dr. Gerald Bernstein, welcome to ReachMD XM157, the channel for medical professionals. It's an interesting period that we're in healthcare because diabetes is just this epidemic, if you will. And Generex is working on several different products, but some of the interesting things already on the market are some over-the-counter treatments. Now, if you could give us a little background on that and also tell us why these are important, because people are entering diabetes at various stages of the disease, and they're not all just using prescription products, are they?
No, and there are a variety of items that are put out from the alternative medicine sector that, whether it's different metals or vitamins, that suggest that they may be of advantage of diabetes. But for the most part, there's no data to back that up. What happened with Generex is in a brainstorming session, we started looking at what are the inhibitors to people taking insulin. And both from significant major scientific studies and from anybody's clinical experience, one of the greatest inhibitor, beyond the fact that someone has to penetrate their skin with a needle, is the fact that insulin in many people results in low blood sugar. And if you've experienced a true low blood sugar reaction from an excess of insulin, it is not only dangerous thing, but it, even in its mildest form, can be a very discomforting and life-altering in terms of quality of life event. And we said, well, when you put back glucose to reverse the low blood sugar, what's available? And the fact is that almost all of the available items that are sold over the counter, gels, tablets, etc., are very, very high doses of glucose. And what happens in most people is that they overdose, and therefore they get their sugar back to normal, but they've taken so much that very soon their blood sugar is now escalating to very high levels. And that becomes very disturbing to them because they then suffer the consequences of having a blood sugar of 300 or 400, which makes them feel badly. They then take more insulin to try and bring that down. And it's apparent that if someone really has a dangerous situation, they have to take a large amount. But for many people, they know when their blood sugar is going to drop. They get a buzz. They get a signal.
Do they know exactly how much that they need?
They can learn that. And that's part of what evolved out of this relatively simple product that we developed. What we did was put glucose with the same excipients that we use with insulin to help it penetrate the lining of the mouth. We put glucose into solution, and it's called glucose rapid spray, so that an individual can learn from clinical experience just that they learn how much insulin they need, how much glucose they need to stop the glucose dropping, and what's even equally important, to stop the adrenaline reaction, which creates an hour of misery. And it's been out there for a couple of years. The entire container has about a little more than 8 grams, and 5 puffs gives you 400 milligrams. Most of the replacement tools for low blood sugar are on the order of 4 or 5 grams, and that's why the sugar goes up so high.
And how long has this product been on the market? Because a lot of people might not know about these things. I mean, if somebody thinks about their grandfather who always used to keep a Snicker bar in his pocket, I mean, that type of thing is not out of the realm of what some people are using out there.
That's right, and they love it, because one of the only positive part of having a low blood sugar is if you have a whole bunch of Snickers bars, you're savoring the Snickers, but you're doing it mentally because you think that you're getting your blood sugar back, and therefore it's okay. But invariably ends up in overshooting with the blood sugar. Glucose Rapid Spray came on the market in June of 2006 and has slowly won over a good part of the diabetes educator community, as we found out at our booth at the Diabetes Educators meeting this August. The people who came up and raved about the experience with it, because what they found, which is what we thought they would find, and what one of our scientific studies showed, was that by using the glucose spray in moderated amounts, and again, people determine what they need, that their pathway of normalizing their blood sugar is smooth. And what they're actually doing is dosing glucose replacement. It's not arbitrary. It's not throwing the kitchen sink when you only need perhaps the equivalent of a cup. And so people find that they don't need 5 grams. They may need a gram. They need a gram and a half or a half a gram. So it's different for everybody. They find out what they need, and then they can begin to use it on a preventative basis.
If you're just joining us, or even if you're new to our channel, you're listening to a special focus on diabetes on ReachMD XM 157, the channel for medical professionals. I'm Bruce Japsen of the Chicago Tribune. I'm your host. And joining me today is Dr. Gerald Bernstein, who's with a company called Generex. And if you haven't heard about Generex, you might be hearing about some of their products, because they're designed to treat and help diabetics with over-the-counter treatments. And Dr. Bernstein, if you will, you were just talking about a study that would help support some of the work that you and your company are doing in this regard on over-the-counter products.
Yes, Dr. Pizzilli in Italy, along with a group at a big pediatric endocrine center in Moscow, studied a group of children under the age of 5 with type 1 diabetes. Half of the group, the mothers were instructed, just do what you always do. When you recognize that your child's blood sugar is dropping, give them juice, whatever it is that you usually do, continue to do this. And this went on for 6 months or more. In the other group, the mothers were instructed to apply to the child's mouth. At that time, I think they were using 10 puffs from the vial, and there was an earlier iteration, so it was about 400 milligrams. And the mothers did that rather than, again, juices and foods and stuff. At the end of 6 months, there were 2 things that came out of it. 1, the quality of life was much better. 2, the A1C hemoglobin, the ultimate measure of diabetes control, actually dropped a little bit, because these children using the glucose rapid spray did not have the extraordinary peaks that was associated, again, with the kitchen sink approach. And when I discussed this with a lot of pediatric endocrinologists at their meeting this year, they said the greatest value that they could see was not only for the child, but for the mother, because the mother now felt empowered, that she was in control of what the child was getting rather than the arbitrary nature of just giving them everything.
Well, that's interesting, Doctor. And you said this product has been around to June of 2006. What other products does Generex have that are out there? Because I know that I'm based in Chicago. I write a lot about Abbott Laboratories, and then there's also Mead Johnson, and they have, your nutrition bars and so forth. But it seems that Generex is looking at a different way to help diabetics with actually sort of substituting and the juices and the bars and so forth, and giving someone something that actually would look like a medical product.
There are a couple of other things. We have modified the glucose rapid spray into a product called GlucoBreak for people who exercise. And I run, and I carry it with me when I run. And if I feel that I need a little boost during it, I can take 5 puffs or something. And it's a very easy delivery system.
It's fat-free, if I understand it.
Yes.
That would have a certain appeal. And it's predominantly for diabetics, or is it for other people as well?
Anybody could use that. I mean, anybody could use both of them because it is just replacing glucose. What is unique is that in many people, the glucose is going to get absorbed through the buccal mucosa and therefore may enter the bloodstream a little earlier and therefore, give a quicker benefit. But let me qualify that glucose rapid spray is not a rescue item. For people who have severe hypoglycemia, this is not what they should use. They need the big doses and they need an injection of glucagon. But for people, and that's the majority, who have these mild but disconcerting episodes of low blood sugar, glucose rapid spray is probably the most efficient and clean way of replacing glucose, shutting down the adrenaline reaction that creates this body misery and preventing excessive rises in blood sugar.
And also, doctor, where can physicians tell their patients about this? I mean, a glucose rapid spray, it's only been on the market since June of 2006. Is this something that you can find at a CVS or a Walgreens?
It's in Walgreens, Rite Aid, and a couple of dozen pharmacies throughout the U.S. and Canada. You can get it from Amazon. I happened to look it up one day, and there it was.
And also, how are the sales going? And also, are there competitor products out there? Because this would seem to be a market that's growing, and when you consider the poor economy and people looking for all sorts of quick and simple options, that this would seem to have a potential market.
The market is enormous, and I'm not in any way a financial person with the company. I know that the product is selling extremely well, not only here, but in a couple of other places around the world, because the more people who find benefit from it, they then pass the word on to their own doctors, to their educators, or the educators to them, and therefore word of mouth, if nothing else, has been extremely valuable because of the satisfaction with the product.
Well, with that, I'd like to thank Dr. Gerald Bernstein, who's been our guest. He is with a company called Generex, and we've been talking about over-the-counter treatments and some of the new things that this company and others have on the market for diabetics. This is a huge problem in this country. Physicians and their patients will be finding out more about these options for patients, and I would like to thank him again for joining us from his offices in New York. I'm Bruce Japsen, the healthcare reporter at the Chicago Tribune. I've been your host, and you've been listening to ReachMD XM 157, the channel for medical professionals. If you have comments or questions about today's show, please call us at 888-MD XM 157, and I'd like to thank you today for listening.